Capital Program Oversight Committee meeting for the month of June. For newcomers, let me just note that CPOC is an oversight committee which generally does not take substantive votes on capital projects, but receives reports from staff and from the independent engineering consultant. Staff presentations are generally followed by a presentation by the independent engineering consultant, which will be the case today. Today, the focus is New York City Transit. Don, do we have any public speakers?
Yes, we have 4 public speakers. The first is Jason Panero.
Well, my last meeting of the day. One question, if I may. When CBTC is going to be completely implemented along the flushing line? We need to get an answer because, of course, when someone that is in this room was across the Hudson managed to approve a project that for some is not a good project, for some it could be a good project, but it involves the 7 train. And by accelerating CBTC, we could get more trains per hour. They're saying about 29 trains per hour along the Flushing line. Queens Boulevard line needs attention, but it could be done faster if we do shutdowns. For example, if you guys are working on the local tracks, you guys should provide free shuttle buses in the entire route. That could be done more quicker and more faster within budget. And last but not least, the new digital screens on the B division. We could see when the train is arriving, but what if a person has hearing impairment? There's no audio announcements. So I wonder if Chairman Foy and Ronnie Haycom could find a solution to this problem. And I want an answer for next month.
The next speaker is Finley Staub.
Hello, good morning, CPOC. Afternoon. First off, on a side note, I'm very sad to hear about Great Western Railway in England retiring their Class 43 DMUs. It's sad to see them go to ScotRail now, but it's fine. From what I've seen, R211 progress is going splendidly well. I think it's a bigger priority to focus on that than right now the R262's construction. From what I've seen, M9 12 car testing progress is going really well. From what I've seen, I know there's been talks about 4 line getting extended to Kings Plaza. I think that's something to talk about still. So thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Omar Vera.
Good afternoon, CPOC. Welcome to the June edition of your board meeting. And yeah, I know I've been busy all day, so I couldn't come today. This may be a regular occurrence, but anyway. First of all, I'm very happy that you finally got rolling out more of the Omni tap and goes. Now, next what we'll be seeing is the actual tap card itself, because I want to see how it actually works and how would it actually work on the SBS routes. Because eventually, if the MetroCard's going and Omni's replacing it, eventually Omni's also going to be on those machines outside the buses, don't you think? And yes, and Besides that, I'm glad to see there's some progress on the Queens Boulevard line towards CVTC, part of the top to bottom modernization as passed through by the happy 1 year anniversary of the Fast Forward. Perfect way to go through top to bottom modernization. And yes, and then the other thing about today, we will. I've heard from some people that they're looking forward to extend the 4 line in Brooklyn all the way to Kings Plaza. Oh, I guess that goes in the route of the BA46, but still, anything because we need to remedy transit deserts. This isn't just there; it's everywhere in the city where there's subway doesn't go. There's a problem. There's a problem with transit deserts, and very often the customers who live in those areas have to take buses, like sometimes multiple routes just to get to the subway. I think it's time we stretch back basically to the roots of the early 20th century, to the dual contracts, and let's expand. With that, everything's all good. I'm looking forward to the programs of the future. Thanks.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Kevin Zeng.
Hello, good afternoon to Pat Foy and Ronnie Hakem. My name is Kevin Zhang. I also want to mention about CPTC and Ultra Wideband. Queens Boulevard line, 8th Avenue line, and Culver line will be installed audible announcements, countdown clocks during the CPTC because I don't hear countdown clocks announcements. Like even the Flushing line, Ultra Wideband are doing the progress on the Canarsie line and Flushing lines. All B division stations will be installed audible announcements, countdown clocks as well. And also, I mentioned few people spoke about the 4 train extent to Kings Plaza on the Utica Avenue line in the future. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you to the public speakers. Next item of business is approval of 2 sets of minutes from April 15th, which Mr. Albert provided some comments to have been reflected. Thank you, Andrew, for those. And the May 20 comments, which are in the book. Unless someone objects, I'm going to take a motion to cover both sets of minutes. Do I have a motion? Second? Terrific. All in favor? Any against? All right, thanks. So both the minutes of the April 15th meeting of CPOC and the May 20 meeting are approved. Don, do we have any changes to the work plan?
No changes to the work plan, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, terrific. With that, I will call upon Pete Tomlin, who's Vice President for Signals and Train Control Engineering, to report on CBTC signals and train control. Pete.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Pete Tomlin, Vice President, Signals and Train Control Engineering. I'm going to provide an update on the CBTC and the signaling projects within our program area. Overall, we have 7 projects in design, 1 in procurement, 13 in construction, and 5 in closeout. Today I will provide an update on the project in procurement and 7 of the key projects in construction. Also an update on the Flushing line, which is now in the closeout phase. The 8th Avenue contract is currently on the street with bids due in mid-July. The award is now targeted at August of 2019, and the completion date of this project is August of 2024. It consists of renewing 2 interlockings and a CBTC overlay from 59th Street to High Street. That's 6.5 route miles or 26.5 track miles. And 270 train units will also be equipped. This project is part of the Fast Forward plan and the first NYCT project that will use axle counters instead of track circuits. Moving into the projects in construction, the Queens Boulevard line. This project is made up of 3 major contracts with 1 installer, Comstock, and 2 CBTC suppliers, Siemens and Thales, with Siemens being awarded 95% and Thales 5% of the CBTC portion. Geographically, the project runs from Union Turnpike to 50th Street on 8th Avenue and covers almost 10 route miles. It will effectively be put into service in 4 sections, with the intermediate section being first. That's shown on the drawing by the vertical lines in March of 2020.
Pete, Mr. Chairman, I think I may have made this comment before, but to make this map more geographically accurate, 50th Street should be after the curve, not before the curve on that map.
Well, I will fix that next time. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Pete, can you just tell the members of the board that are here and the public why two vendors on this project? Why both Siemens and Thales? Could you just spend a minute on that, if you would?
Yeah, so because the network is so large, we need more than one signaling supplier. And to do that, their equipment has to work with each other's equipment. So we need a train that runs on any line to be able to work with different suppliers' equipment. So this project is the first fully interoperable I2S project for NYCT, because Flushing was all Thales and Canarsie was all Siemens. So installation in recent months has accelerated significantly and now stands at 95% for the intermediate section and 37% for the full project, with all cables having been run for the entire project. The CBTC elements are at 58% complete. The original completion dates are being aggressively targeted, but there is still a significant risk to both budget and schedule. We estimate that exposure to be in the region of 3 to 6 months. The risk originated in 2017 with the interlocking projects utilizing every week and preventing the CBTC work piggybacking outages. TA labour resources were also severely limited, and a lot of flagging was required that wasn't available. Additionally, in late 2017 and early 2018, the SAP work got top priority for resources, further affecting the CBTC installation. From early 2018, though better able to tackle the TA resource issues, the QBL clashed for track access with Flushing in services. All this said, since May 2018, QBL CBTC has been getting GOs most weekends and progress has moved on significantly. The net result is that the intermediate section in service has moved out 6 months due to access conflicts, but as stated previously, many opportunities are being aggressively pursued to ensure that the other milestones are not affected. In the next 6 months, we're looking to complete the termination of all the cables, the fibre, the auxiliary wayside equipment, and install the auxiliary wayside equipment for the intermediate section. In addition, the field testing of CBTC for the intermediate section will get seriously underway, particularly with the DCS network that will help prove all the trains, deal with the teething issues, and start to mature the fleet. We want to ensure that there's a high reliability from day one. Enough trains are already fitted out for the intermediate section, and work continues on the remainder. The CBTC I2S, I2S is a specification that suppliers have to adhere to make sure that their equipment works with other suppliers. And that testing on QBL is being completed between Siemens and Thales in April of this year. The training simulator arrived this month, in support of operator training, and that starts in September of this year. The software and the training materials are in progress. All trains for the QBL line will be finished in June of 2020. And as stated previously, the intermediate section trains are already available. I will say again that substantial completion is at risk due to those early delays, but that the schedule with GOs has been resolved, or the access has been resolved, but the schedule still remains very tight indeed.
Pete, can you quantify the schedule risk in months, please?
I would say that it's 3 to 6 months, but we do have opportunities that we're exploring, and we have significant commitments from all the major suppliers to come in on time. We've got a plan. President Byford has met with all the senior staff from the key players, and we're working through those opportunities. So the installation of signal rooms in the intermediate section is late, and this drives the intermediate section in service out to March of 2020. But we are still targeting the overall substantial completion date. So moving on to the qualification of the third supplier, Mitsubishi. Since September of 2015, Mitsubishi have been developing and testing their new CBTC solution to become the third supplier to New York City for interoperable CBTC solutions. Once safety certified, they will be able to bid on contracts along with Siemens and Thales, thus providing more options and competition.
Pete, can we just stop there for a second? We've heard lots of discussion, appropriate discussion at meetings this month and in prior months about how in so many areas there's a duopoly of suppliers. And can you just talk about the importance of qualifying Mitsubishi and the positive effects that may have going forward?
It's a very significant thing that we have to do, is to get a third supplier qualified. We're also talking to a fourth supplier. Because the system is so large, there's no one supplier that can really handle the whole network. So we need multiple suppliers, and they need to work with each other. So it's very significant that we get Mitsubishi qualified.
And in addition, all other things being equal, more competitors ought to result in more competitive pricing and terms.
That's correct.
Great.
And also an evening out of the workload, because it's quite a significant undertaking.
Good, thank you.
Even with two suppliers.
Thank you.
So this project started and was progressing slowly. However, substantial and significant progress has been made in this last period. The lab testing, the factory acceptance testing in Japan, static testing of the cardboard installation has all been completed since the end of last year. At Coney Island, a train has been run in both ATPM mode and automatic train operation. That is a very significant achievement. Preparations are well underway for the train to move to Culver Test Track and for Mitsubishi to start interoperable tests with Siemens. In parallel in the lab, Mitsubishi have completed integration tests and are now working through a suite of interoperable tests with the Siemens solution in a dedicated session over the next 3 weeks. The next 6 months will see the system testing in the lab complete, as well as dynamic testing of the full Mitsubishi CBTC solution on the Culver Test Track. This will allow pre-qualification of Mitsubishi Carbon and Wayside within the next period. Once they're pre-qualified, they'll be able to bid, and the full safety certification will come early next year. The ISMIB Module 3, this project was awarded to ARINC in July of 2018 and will see the installation of a large display, a data warehouse and 26 B Division workstations in the RCC. This project is 10% complete, on schedule and on budget with no significant issues. Now to the ISMB Module 3A. This is a complementary project to the Module 3, and this project upgrades the south wall of the theatre in the Rail Control Centre. This project has just started. There are no issues with scope, schedule or budget. Onto the Culver Line project. This project runs from Church Avenue to West 8th Street. It covers 8 route and 14 track miles. It started in February of this year and will be completed in August of 2022. It's a very aggressive 42-month schedule. However, no trains are required for this project, as they will be equipped with CBTC under the QBL project. Mobilization has been achieved, schedules have been submitted and accepted. It's early days, with the regular team and the steering committee meetings established and working well. On to the ultra-wideband project. This was actually awarded as 2 projects, one on the Canarsie line with Siemens and Humatics, and the other on Flushing with Thales and Piper. Both cover about 4 miles of track. The goal of both projects is to determine that UWB is safety certifiable as an integrated part of a CBTC system. As a reminder, UWB is not a communication-based train control system itself. It is one part of one subsystem. A full CBTC system consists of 5 subsystems, one of which is the onboard equipment and the software. The conventional onboard CBTC subsystem comprises of an onboard computer and several hardware devices installed in both ends and underneath the train. There are about 20 vital software functions contained in an onboard system. One of these is the odometry system that determines the position, the speed, and the direction of the train. The UWB product replaces all the components under and on the train related to the odometry system, and it also replaces the wayside positioning equipment. UWB is much easier and quicker to install on the train, and the positioning is much more accurate than the conventional system. For context, in terms of software, UWB accounts for less than 1% of the total CBTC train control system. Both shadow mode data collection for safety certification and functional testing to confirm operation and reliability will be completed before the end of December 19. So from start to finish, this project is less than 10 months. Also being trialed with the UWB project is a different project execution model. Suppliers, consultants, and in-house staff have been working very closely and collaboratively as one team to deliver the project. A structured series of working groups and detailed weekly project reviews keep communications and updates clear with swift resolution of all issues. From the start of the specification, scope and schedule definition, from the start of specification, scope and schedule definition to notice of award to 2 suppliers was 9 weeks. Suppliers provided their schedules weekly for NYCT to integrate and share. Baseline schedules were approved in about 5 weeks. The average submittal review times are about 5 days. Mobilization, surveys of track and train, equipment fit-outs, approval of equipment have all been completed. The LiDAR survey data provided to the suppliers to aid design is also complete. The design is due completion in June, approximately 3 months after notice of award. Installation will be done by the in-house forces this summer, and it's already started. Additional stretch targets such as worker safety at track and onboard train networks are also planned on both projects. It is worthy to note that we have 2 projects progressing quickly in parallel. Onto the Flushing line, which is now in closeout. The Flushing line runs from Main Street to 34th Street Hudson Yard. It's about 10.5 route miles with 18.5 track miles and 22 stations. The project started in June of 2010 with substantial completion in March 2019. There were many challenges, setbacks and delays along the way. However, Flushing has now had 24/7 ATO operation available since early May, and the system is performing very reliable. In May of 2018, Flushing achieved 63% on-time performance with 22 to 25 trains per hour. In its first month of ATO service in May of 2019, on-time performance was at 90.6% with 29 trains per hour in both peaks, a significant improvement. A recent public survey of customers showed that they've definitely noticed an improvement. Both Canarsie and Flushing are now both fully CBTC. They are by far the best performing lines in the system, demonstrating that we have lots of improvements to look forward to as Fast Forward rolls out CBTC across the network at an unprecedented rate. On Flushing, in the next 6 months, we will see all the punch list items complete, the remaining software releases before the end of July, and additionally, we will have removed all the old signaling equipment before the end of the year. The points on the previous slide, these points are previously on the previous slide, and they're both on track. This slide is showing the interlocking projects, which is just for information. Thank you. Any questions?
I'm wondering, and I'm hopeful, that the ultra-wideband test is going to be successful and that it will be a viable alternative to installing CBTC throughout the system, because it can be done in a fraction of the time, a fraction of the cost, obviously. When do you think we will know whether UWB is a success and can be further made throughout the system?
I think towards the end of the fall, we will know once all the tests, the data collection tests are done, and we've done the functional testing. We will know that functionally it's possible to use as a part of a solution, and then by first quarter, possibly second quarter next year, it will be fully safety certified for use.
So sometime in 2020, we'll have a viable answer to this.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm pleased to see that you have a positive attitude about it. I think that when you've got real results, it should go to the Transit Committee.
Good afternoon. My name is Nabil Ghali. I'll be presenting the IEC report on the NYCT CBTC program. The report begins on page 27 of the CPOC book. This afternoon, I'll cover the Queens Boulevard line, interoperability, and the Flushing CBTC projects. Starting with the QBL CBTC design and furnish contracts, the IEC performed an independent review of the schedule, and based on that review, we agree with the project team that substantial completion is at risk. In our opinion, the main reasons for the impact substantial completions are that early in the contract, there was delays in the design and interim milestones, which compressed remaining activity. This means that there's less time left for testing and commissioning. And based on our experience, there's a need for adequate time to resolve typical software and interoperability issue and stabilize CBTC system performance. We understand that the project team is working to develop a number of mitigations. We will analyze and review these proposed mitigations to quantify potential benefits to project schedule.
The next time you and the team come back on CBTC, can you take lessons learned from Flushing, as well as the IEC's comments, and report on how, on 8th Avenue and going forward, will perform differently?
Yep. Sorry, Chairman, I missed the first part of the question.
Sorry, the lessons learned from the seven. I just want to have a systematic way to take the observations that you've made, and obviously all this work occurred before your arrival here, and the comments that the IEC made, and operationalize these on future projects.
Yes,
Thank you.
definitely.
With respect to the budget, our review and analysis indicate that the projects remain within the approved budget. A couple of project highlights. First, the installation of carbon equipment is progressing on schedule. Also, the management of software did improve. This was a previous concern of the IEC. Recently, we observed more focus by both the suppliers and the project team on the software development process, including holding regular software working group meetings to review and discuss software documents, and also ensuring more adherence to the requirement traceability matrix requirements. We believe this is a positive development for the project. Next, I'll address the installation contract. IEC did verify that the project remains on schedule and within budget. After early delays, the contractor is making good progress in the installation of wayside equipment within the intermediate section, which is on the critical path. We have two main concerns. First, a delay by the subcontractor to the installation contractor in providing conventional signal equipment for the remaining sections. The project team is addressing this issue. Also, we would like to note
Sorry, Nabil, which subcontractor?
I believe there was a part of the Siemens organization that providing equipment to the railworks or Comstock.
Yeah, the contract is actually with Comstock, and a subcontractor is Siemens out of Kentucky.
One note is that a delay in the design and furnish contract will require a schedule extension to the installation contract, since the installation contract will support the testing and commissioning of the CBTC system. Next, I'll address the CBTC equipment supplier interoperability project. As Pete mentioned, the CBT supplier did improve the quality of design, and there were successful testings that was achieved. However, substantial completion did slip by an additional 6 months. We are concerned that the delay or the additional delay in the substantial completion will adversely impact the availability of the third CBT supplier to compete for the CBTC program. Next, I will address the CBTC Flushing project. As Pete mentioned, substantial completion was declared in March of 2019. Based on our budget review, additional funds are needed to cover soft cost budget overruns and also fund remaining project activities. System performance did improve, and CBTC is currently supporting the operation of 29 trains during peak service. For the next couple of months, the contractor will continue to resolve remaining system issues.
So Nabil, can you go back, and maybe you and Pete just comment on the point you made a minute ago, which is that the delays on interoperability may have an adverse impact on the availability of the third vendor. And just explain why that is and the consequences of that, if you would.
Well, I mean, one of the objectives is to increase competition for the capital program. In order to have increased competitions, we need to have multiple supplier for interoperable CBTC equipment. Currently, we do have Siemens and Thales, and the objective was to have a third supplier, which is Mitsubishi. We need to have them qualified so that they will be available to bid future CBTC contracts. So by being late, that's going to delay their qualification, which in turn will not make them available to bid or to participate in the procurement of future CBTC contracts. Pete, if you have other.
I think that really covers it. I mean, they can't bid until we've got a pre-qualification exercise such that when we know that it's going to be certified, it just has to go through the paper evaluations. We can let them start to bid. So it will be a matter of timing. Once they're pre-qualified, then we can actually engage them to bid on projects.
Sure. So I would like to conclude this briefing with two recommendations. The first is related to the Flushing CPTC project. As I mentioned earlier, the CPTC is currently supporting the operation of 29 trains during peak service. We know that CPTC can support the operation of additional trains. However, capacity is constrained due to factors that are not within CPTC, line factors. So our recommendation is for New York City Transit to perform a simulation on the Flushing line to identify infrastructure and operational constraints and bottlenecks and undertake initiatives to enhance line capacity. The second recommendation is related to the capital CBTC program in general, and the recommendation is to clarify the criteria for achieving substantial completion on CBTC project to include specific requirements related to achieve main CBTC operating functions. Such clarification could be part of project special conditions, CBTC project special conditions, and it will provide leverage to the project team when dealing with CBTC contractors. This concludes the IEC briefing. I would be happy to take questions.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to just make a couple of comments, just to give you, my MD and board members, some reassurance. I mean, I should preface my comments by saying, in the past we have had real challenges with CBTC. You heard some of those challenges. There's been a number of things that have adversely affected the program, and that in no way diminishes the excellent work of people like Mark Beanstalk. Mark had carriage of the project before, and really got us to a good place from which Pete can now take us forward. And just a couple of points I'd like to reiterate. Number one, I can't underestimate how huge it is that we got Mitsubishi running a train in ATO the other day. That's a massive step forward. Number two, to give you reassurance, excuse me, on QBL, I had in the other day both Comstock, who are the installer at the CEO level, and we also spoke with Siemens Kentucky, again at CEO level, and looked them in the eyes and said, okay, the intermediate portion might slip a little bit. The end date is not slipping. You will not do that to us. Make it so. And in both cases, we got absolute cast iron assurances from both of the CEOs, both at Comstock and at Siemens Kentucky, that they absolutely understand the criticality of getting this thing back on path. Which kind of brings me on to my last point, which is you asked earlier how we were going to do things differently, and Pete answered very, very capably, except he was probably being a little modest. One of the reasons I brought him in is because he understands how the benefits, how beneficial it is to get teams working as one team. So where in the past we might have had a more contractual relationship with, say, Siemens or Thales, or whomsoever going forward. We are co-locating teams. We are succeeding or failing as one team, and obviously we don't intend to do the latter. So we know what we're doing. We put together a really good integrated schedule. We're really driving these things going forward. And again, another point I'd like to reiterate is the use of axle counters for the 8th Avenue project. And to your question, Commissioner, UWB, as Pete once said, is a game changer, and we're that close, we think, to being able to say, is it a go, a yes or no? Again, reiterating that it's not a signaling system, but it does mean we can do this thing more cheaply, more quickly, and less intrusively. So I think we're in a very good place.
Andy, I thank you for those comments, and the one that I think we're all focused on, and the IEC raised, as did Pete and you, is making sure that nothing happens intentionally or inadvertently to stand in the way of the third supplier. Because in so many of our major capital programs, whether it's PTC, CBTC, rolling stock, there are two suppliers, and the addition of a third and a fourth really affects the competitive balance, not only from a pricing point of view, but there's likely to be more innovation and client focus in a market of 3 or 4 or 5 suppliers than there is in a market of 2. And thank you for those comments.
And then again, we're looking at a fourth.
Yes. Thank you all. Mark Beanstalk, over to you, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Beanstalk, the Program Executive of Systems and Security. Before I update the committee on specific projects, I would like to provide a brief overview of some of the projects managed by the Systems and Security Program. The project to install countdown clocks, too far there. The project to install countdown clocks on all A Division stations was completed in 2013. Countdown clocks were installed in the rest of the system, the B Division, using a new different technology in 2018, and the project was completed 3 months ahead of schedule. Starting in the lower left and moving around the circle clockwise, you can see the evolution of the countdown clocks from the old technology to the newer technology.
Say what you will about old versus new. The A Division countdown clocks, I think, are the most accurate, even though they look old.
They are the most accurate because their data source is the ATS system, as you well know, Commissioner. Cellular service and Wi-Fi for our customers was installed through a partnership with Transit Wireless and completed in all underground stations in 2017, 1 year ahead of schedule. New public address systems were completed in 2018 at 91 B Division stations, which had no public address capability. All subway stations now have working public address systems. This was a key component of our customer commitment, and we met it. Help points provide our customers with the ability to speak to customer service personnel in the Travel Information Center, the station agent, and personnel in the RCC. Help points are installed on platforms, mezzanines, and part-time control areas. The on-the-go kiosks are interactive information screens, which provide real-time trip planning, service status and updates, train arrival information, and public service messages. The passenger station local area network is the primary station's communications network used to transmit digital information to and from the stations, including Omni. Digital customer information centers are now installed in 115 stations, and advertising screens are active in 96 of those stations. In 2018, we exceeded our installation goal of 50 by 2 stations. The 2019 goal is 100 stations, of which 63 are already in service.
Go further, and I'm sure you're aware of this. The out front digital screens that you just showed, where they have the countdown clocks when they cycle through to a countdown clock, they don't match necessarily the countdown clocks that are up hanging. They are sometimes a minute off of each other.
Okay. I'll speak to our IT people and see what the situation is. Thank you. We've installed electronic security systems, including CCTV at fare control areas and throughout key stations, as well as access control systems at under-river tubes. I will now provide an update on 3 specific projects: the Flushing Line Public Address System, the Bus Radio System, and the new Bus Command Center. The Flushing Line Public Address System modernization was awarded to TC Electric in December 2016. This project is installing a new digital PA system and LCD customer information screens on the Flushing Line. Customer service personnel in the Rail Control Center will be able to make announcements at any or all of the stations on the line. The system will also interface to the Flushing Line Automatic Train Supervision System to display train arrival time at all stations on the line. Substantial completion is scheduled for July 2019. The 4-month delay is due to the modification of existing HVAC equipment at 15 communications rooms in order to maximize space and allow a safer work environment for future upgrades in the rooms. We have already completed testing at 20 out of 21 stations and placed 16 of those in service. Over the next 6 months, we will complete testing and place all remaining stations in service. Here are some photos showing work recently completed. The top left is a new PA cabinet. The top right shows new speakers installed under the canopy at Met's Willets Point Station. The bottom left shows new speakers installed on lighting poles at 69th Street, and the bottom right shows a new LCD customer information screen. Train arrival information on the Flushing line is currently being provided using the Beacon train tracking system, just like the rest of the B division. When the new Flushing line ATS system is fully operational, it will be used to generate accurate real-time train arrival information. The bus radio system project will install a new digital bus radio system for the Department of Buses and MTA Bus. The project was awarded to Parsons Transportation Group in March 2016. This contract will also furnish and install computer-aided dispatch equipment, network equipment, telephone, video, and audio systems. The contractor's latest preliminary schedule is showing a 170-day delay. This schedule has not yet been accepted by New York City Transit, and we are working with the contractor to mitigate any possible delays to the project's completion. Construction activities at base station sites are progressing. The system integration test critical milestone was successfully completed. Over the next several months, we will complete construction at Toad Hill and Castleton Depot in Staten Island. Outfitting the bus command center in Brooklyn will also continue. The 200 bus pilot has been impacted by the FAA requirement to shift the location of the Toad Hill antenna tower within the approved site. Site approval has been secured from the FAA and DoD, but we are still awaiting for FAA approval of the site clearing plan to begin construction. This has led to a delay in the 200 bus pilot from August to October and pushed the outfitting of all remaining buses back as well.
Hey, Mark, is there anything in hindsight, anything we could have done to shorten the FAA project or to save some time on this piece?
What we didn't do and what we couldn't do was pick the exact footprint on the site that the contractor would need because of the RFP process.
Right.
So once they determined what they needed was really the first opportunity we could go to the FAA for site approval of that specific location within their overall site. We had approval from them to be on the site prior to the release of the RFP, but their first concern was our monopole. They wanted to lower the height of our monopole. We couldn't do that because it wouldn't provide coverage. If you know the geography of Staten Island, it's sort of hilly in certain areas. And they forced us to relocate within the overall site to a different footprint. In order to gain the elevation we needed then, we had to change the tower design from a monopole to a lattice tower. And that created some site clearing issues, which now we're in the process of resolving now. We did reach out, though, to our partners at the FTA, and we've asked Steve Goodman from the FTA. He's reached out on our behalf to the FAA, and we're awaiting a quick resolution, so hopefully we'll get that soon.
Thank you.
As mentioned previously, the contractor schedule indicates a delay to the project's substantial completion. Site installations continue as a risk to the project schedule. We are working with the contractor to develop a mitigation plan to address the risks and site delays. We are meeting with Parsons' president and senior leadership team to secure commitment to mitigate the delay and complete the project as scheduled. That meeting will be held with our senior vice president as well as with Andy, the president of the authority. Here are some photos of work in progress and completed to date. The shelter and monopole at Eltingville Depot, the network cabinets already installed at the RCC, the shelter and monopole at 38th Street Yard, and the monopole at Charleston Depot on Staten Island. Construction of a new regional bus command center for New York City Transit and MTA Bus was awarded to MPCC Corp. In June 2015. Substantial completion was declared on June 17, 2019. The delay was due primarily to an unforeseen subsurface duct bank that obstructed the path of the sewer discharge line from the building to the street sewer main. This necessitated the redesign of the sewer connection to an alternate main, which required testing approvals and permitting by the New York City Department of Environmental Protection. The CM office is also estimating approximately a 4% increase in the estimated completion. A budget modification will be submitted once the analysis is complete. We are also working with our code compliance group to issue a temporary certificate of occupancy soon to allow buses to occupy some of the administrative and office spaces while the bus radio system contractor continues to outfit the operating theater and radio system rooms. As previously mentioned, substantial completion was declared on June 17th.
So Mark, sorry, just on the
Yes.
cost, we expect the overrun to be, what, $300,000 to $400,000, a number like that?
Approximately, yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
There has been no impact to the bus radio system contractor's access to the site, and the system installation activities are progressing. Here you can see a photo of the operating theater. It has a total of 75 consoles. 15 of them are management consoles, and they're in the raised area in the middle.
Joe, just to be clear, can you just tell the board and the members of the public what kind of theater this is? Or what kind of theater it's not?
It's not a movie theater. It's the operating theater for which buses service management personnel will manage all bus service operations throughout all 5 boroughs. So around the outside of the theater are the operator consoles. They'll be able to track the buses in real time. They'll be able to address instances of bus bunching or smooth out service delivery. And they've got management supervisions right in the middle. Along the outside, there will be large screens so they can look at real-time traffic conditions as well as bus locations on a larger screen in order to improve the delivery of bus service throughout the 5 boroughs.
That's great. Andy, can you just speak to the customer benefits of this
Sure.
investment? Please.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, again, I don't want to overuse the word, but I think this is a game changer, that where at the moment we have these disparate command posts, if you like, or disparate command rooms in different depots. And I was just at Charleston on Friday, actually having a look at the room in there. This will mean that we have, for the first time, a proper overview, more than anything we've ever had, a proper oversight of exactly where our vehicles are. We will get real-time information about, say, any route blockages. We'll be able to liaise real-time with the police and with the city on, say, for example, if there was a parade or something and what we need to do. And we'll be able to direct in much more real-time both the operation of bus services, so that you can avoid bunching and gapping, you can take proactive action, but also that we can pump out information to customers. We can monitor what's going on Twitter. This will be the bus equivalent of the RCC. So I'm really looking forward to getting in there. You may have been just having a little powwow with Ronnie when we mentioned the issues we were having with the radio contractor. Tomorrow I'm meeting with their CEO. We're really going to look them in the eyes now and say, you need to claw this back, because we don't want that screwing up our migration to this beautiful new facility.
Good, thank you. Keep us posted on that.
Mm-hmm.
Mark?
This is an exterior photo of the operating theater, of the whole bus command center, excuse me. The operating theater is located in the rear of the building. It's covered by a green, eco-friendly roof, and this is a photo of the roof as the plants start to fill in. The roof, together with other elements of the building, combined give the building a LEED certification. LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. It's a very prestigious and coveted honor as it relates to the construction and the occupancy of buildings, especially important in New York, as New York City embarks on a whole effort over the next several years with regards to the effects of climate change and securing the city with regards to the effect of climate change. This concludes my presentation. Take any questions.
I had a chance to go out there about a week or so ago, and it's spectacular. And an investment like this is an investment in that neighborhood as well. I don't think they're marked. I'll get back to you.
IEC. Hassan.
Yeah, good afternoon. The IEC report for the bus radio system, or BRS project, with observations and recommendations can be found on page 63 of the CPOC book. We have verified that the current budget of $280 million is sufficient to complete the project at current estimated completion, or EAC. Concerning the schedule, little progress has been made since our November 2018 report, and the IEC review of contractors' schedule updates shows a month-for-month delay since then. The IEC forecasts a delay of at least 6 months to the substantial completion if progress on the project is not accelerated. The IEC recommends the following. With respect to the schedule, a recovery plan is needed to resolve outstanding issues so the substantial completion is not further delayed. With respect to testing, a master defect list is needed to track all variances and their dispositions, starting from factory acceptance testing of all subsystems and throughout the project. And regarding the system rollout, a clear process is needed to safely implement any hardware, software, and configuration changes to the live system. Once the system is in operational use, all changes must be approved, tested, and verified in the test environment before system-wide implementation. This concludes my briefing, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Mark, a question for you. Does the transit team agree with the recommendations?
Yes, we've had discussions with Hassan about these recommendations, and we agree, and we'll be working to implement them.
Thank you. Any questions from my colleagues? Good. Diane, please.
Good afternoon. This is Diane Rinaldi reporting on the Bus Command Center. My written report starts on page 66 of the CPOC book. Substantial completion was achieved on the Bus Command Center this month, and it was a 7-month slip since last report. All major work on the building has been substantially completed. There's some minor punch list work outstanding, some of which is required for code compliance and is delaying occupancy of the building, but they're very, very close. The IEC has reviewed project expenditures and concurs with the project that additional funds will be required to cover extended soft costs to close out and to cover pending change orders. And that concludes the IEC's report.
Thank you. The commitments and completions report is in the book, starting on page 70. In sum, on the commitment front, the MTA made 4 major commitments through May. There was a slip of 3 additional commitments, but there's a path forward to get them done as well. So by year end, the MTA expects to meet its 2019 commitments goal. On the completion side, the MTA made 6 out of the 8 major completions through May. 2 were delayed, but also they have a path forward so that by year end, we currently are on track for meeting or exceeding the 2019 completions goal. And that concludes the report, sir.
Thank you, Ronnie. Don.
The traffic light report begins on page 79 in the book. 325 projects were reviewed in the first quarter, 53 in design, 272 in construction. About 2/3 of them were designated as green, 73 or 22% were yellow, 13% designated as red. And for each of the 41 that were designated red, the agency prepared a variance report that is in the book. For the Sandy program, it begins on page 123, the traffic light report. 72 projects were reviewed, 61%, 44 were designated green, 26% yellow, 13% for red. That's 9 projects, and for those 9 projects, there's a variance report in the book as well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Don. Andrew.
Something wrong with this one. So, on the mainline track repair reports that you have here, I'll use the Jerome Avenue mainline track replacement or track project. You wouldn't do that at the same time that you would do an Eastern Parkway track replacement project, right? Because that would affect possibly the 4 train twice.
No, I don't believe so. No.
We would try to avoid concurrent or competing corridors because you need to give customers an alternative.
Okay, because that's not clear from any of the timelines here, but
okay.
you know about
it's a general practice. It's one of our checks that we would always try to avoid competing geos, for example, because otherwise you're double whammying customers.
Exactly.
But thanks for pointing that out. We'll try to look at that.
Good. Anything else? Terrific. I'll take a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you all.